Ted Lasso is Apple TV's only real breakout hit, but what a breakout hit. So successful and deservedly so. I think that season 2 rallied at the end and really, they really brought it home. And I'm very excited for season 3. But maybe, just maybe, The Shrink Next Door is Apple TV's next big hit. I think it's brilliant. I was surprised to see, the embargo lifted on Monday for this, the review embargo, and I was surprised that the RT score was so soft out at the gate because I was just blown away by this show. I think it's incredible. So maybe it won't work out for Apple TV, but I would certainly suggest you try it out. Now, we see a lot of Paul Rudd. We've seen a lot of Paul Rudd for a while. He is definitely a working actor. And Will Ferrell, he's kind of worn out his welcome as of late. But you've never seen either of them like this, which is wonderfully refreshing. During episode 2, I watched the first 3, which all dropped this Friday. I thought to myself watching episode 2, wow, good for Will Ferrell. He's finally found himself a really strong series like his fellow SNL cast members, Bill Hader and Jason Sudeikis. And it's crazy to feel that Will Ferrell needs to catch up to anyone, as he's one of the few movie stars to come out of Saturday Night Live. And this just goes to show how streaming has flipped Hollywood totally on its head, and streaming is now where talent wants and needs to thrive. Speaking of other comedians, Will Ferrell has the more serious role here. And while he's tried to do serious in the past, I've never really felt it's worked out. But here, he finally delivers a dramatic performance a la famous funny men turned strong dramatic actors, Robin Williams and Jim Carrey. The subtlety of Will Ferrell's performance, down to his charming New York accent, is particularly impressive considering he made his career on being anything but subtle. As for Paul Rudd, we already know what a dynamic actor he is, capable of doing great comedic and dramatic work. But here, while his role is busier and flashier than Ferrell's, it has just as much nuance, just as many levels. To me, so far, it's the ambiguity of The Shrink Next Door that is the most fascinating. As psychiatrist Rudd and Kathryn Hahn, who is having a great run right now, as Ferrell's sister, fight for control of Ferrell and the money he inherited from his and Hahn's parents, which it turns out is considerable. It's very hard to tell who is the hero who will save Ferrell and who is the villain who will destroy him, as both Rudd and Hahn veer in and out of hero and villain territory with quite a bit of movement. It's like a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. I love it. I will say that while Rudd seems like more of a professional best friend than a psychiatrist, he gives out some of the best life advice I've ever heard and makes some incredibly insightful observations, not just about Will Ferrell and Kathryn Hahn's characters within the show, but about life in general. I mean, this guy just, as Mobius says, slap it on a t-shirt. I mean, this guy he just is a great saying machine. Kathryn Hahn's character, she's not on the poster, but this is very much a trio. This is a show about 3 characters. I wish she was on the poster. She deserves to be. Kathryn Hahn's character also has a lot of nuance because she starts out very much as the selfless sister, but as we get to know her, she rapidly becomes a much more complex character. And Kathryn Hahn is able to play all these different levels as well. I recently watched Red Notice, and I said that I felt that Gal Gadot in my review wasn't at the level of Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds. But here, Kathryn Hahn definitely is on the level of Rudd and Ferrell, and she is playing the game just as strong. It's very impressive. So again, it's the ambiguity and nuance of The Shrink Next Door that I find the most fascinating. The show is so well written and acted, it feels like a classic Broadway play. Perhaps what adds to that feeling is the 1980s New York setting when Broadway was it's most alive with original cutting-edge dramas and comedies instead of the musical nostalgia factory that it is today. Here, we could easily be watching John Lithgow, Richard Dreyfuss, and Meryl Streep in their heyday. It's great. I love it. If you like the earlier work of John Lithgow, Richard Dreyfuss, and Meryl Streep, you will like this too. While I'm not a podcast person, this is the second streaming podcast adaptation that's really impressed me after Peacock's Dr. Death. That was really good. If you're looking for something else to watch, check that out for sure. Director Michael Showalter has a strong, although muted resume, but he's perfect for this because his understated directing not only allows us to focus on our 3 leads and the script, comedic actors doing drama, but still with strong notes of comedy, there's a sense of foreboding as we, the audience, try to figure out who's friend or foe. I mean, Showalter really lets the story breathe. And but while, he gets out of its way, but you still feel like you're in good hands. And showrunner Georgia Pritchett, a great example of how women don't have to just write for their gender, does a wonderful job shepherding her own show after being a writer on Succession, Veep, and on Tracy Ullman's recent shows. She actually has a very long resume, but I think those are some of her most recent and biggest credits. Those shows, by the way, are a good clue as to what you're in for here, as they're all very smart, sophisticated, and understated, but at the same time biting and sharp as a whip. This show is extremely well written. I really think it's well written. Finally, one of the most interesting things about this show to me is that it's a perfect example of what a psychiatrist should not do. As many of you know, I just recently finished The Sopranos, which I'd never seen before, and I love the show. So good. But one of the things that frustrated me, just like it frustrated Tony, is that Dr. Melfi would often just sit there waiting for Tony to speak. Sometimes they'd just be sitting there in silence with neither of them saying anything. He didn't know what to do, how to solve his problems, yet she always insisted that he take the lead, which again annoyed Tony and it annoyed me. But now, seeing a psychiatrist aggressively take the lead in this show, I can see that as actually a very bad take, and that would be a very bad thing to do. And that Dr. Melfi actually was an excellent psychiatrist. And David Chase, who did The Sopranos, did a really good job depicting psychiatry and how it works. So that contrast to me between the two shows, a good psychiatrist and a very bad one, is really interesting. And it provides an insight into psychiatry that I previously didn't have. So I love that as well. So that's my review of The Shrink Next Door. I know, again, that it has a soft Rotten Tomato score, so it might not be for everyone, but I definitely would try it. I mean, I just really love it. The first 3 episodes debut on Apple TV this Friday. They're about 30 to 40 minutes each. It's good stuff. All right, share those thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.